Hello, this is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. We're going to make a few travelogues or videos on bike riding. And it's for bike riders my age, if you can believe that. We call ourselves the Outside 660 group. Beyond age 60 and upwards and onwards. And if you're thinking of buying a bike, think about an e-bike. There's a lot of them on the road. And there's more coming. They're ideal for people who want to be an easy rider. Take it easy on the road and enjoy it. Maybe a little older, you don't have to keep up with the rest of the crowd. It's a very enjoyable kind of a thing. So let's take a look at these e-bikes and some things to think about if you're thinking about buying one. If you're thinking of a bike, let's think in terms of number one, the size of the bike frame. Let's look at the cushion features of the bike, if it has any. Is there any cushion in the forks of the seat? And third, that distance from the seat to the handles is important. So let's take a look at number one, frame size. You certainly don't want to get a bike that is too big for you. You can hurt yourself. Sometimes that's a mistake. And as you get older, you have trouble, like I have trouble, is getting on the thing, swinging your leg over the top of these bars of these bikes. It's hard. And you can learn tricks and you kind of lean your bike down on the side. There. Oh, then you get up into the seat and you're still high up. Let me get up. Ow! I think I'm okay. I just gotta go to the doc and get some of those pills. I'll be right back. I'm okay. Batteries come in all shapes and sizes, ranging from probably 48 volts. It seems to be the more common size. It's all plenty to get you down the trail. Here it is, 24 hours later, and I can tell you, medicine is a wonderful thing. And I'll not be demonstrating with that older, high bicycle anymore. I've got a new bike. It's a step-through, it's called, and we used to call it a woman's bike at one time, or a girl's bike, where there is no high bar. Now, since more people my age are using it, men, we call it a step-through bike. And it's right behind me here. I'll just show you what it is. I'll step back so you can see it, and I'll show you how you get on this kind of a bike. And, okay, instead of swinging my leg up really high, I just step into the bike like this. I step in, I'm ready to go. And I just slide up on the seat, and I'm ready to ride. When I come to a stop, I just stop, and I can dismount easy. None of this high swinging the leg over. It's the real kind of a deal as you get on with longer in the tooth, as I say. You can see the difference in heights between these two bikes. The closer bike is substantially lower and easier to mount. Tire size is not a big factor, especially for older riders. The center tire is the more common size on most bikes. The one on the left is a wider, fat tire bike. With an electric motor on your bike, tire size does not make a huge difference. My wife, who rode the smaller bike on the left, had no problem whatsoever in cruising along with me on my larger sized bike tire. This shows tire width differences between the fat tire on the right and the more common width on the left. The fat tire is a little more stable, but tire size or width is not the key with an e-bike. The key that you will notice is the feel of that exciting boost as your electric motor sails you easily along up a gradual hill or against the wind. The electric motor usually is housed in the axle of the rear wheel, although a few bikes have the motor in the middle of the bike in between the pedals. We have looked at number 1, the frame size. Now let's take a look at the cushion aspect of a bike. Is there any spring in those front forks or in the seat? There's a shock absorber system on this bike. It's down on the front forks, and if you just run the camera down there, I'll try to push, and you can see that shock absorber moving just a little bit. See how it's moving just a little bit? That takes some shock off of your body as you go over the bumps on the trail. The amount of give in the springs that's on the seat or in those shock absorbers on the front forks of the bike may not seem to be very much, but it does make a little bit of difference as you ride, and especially if you've been riding for quite a while. And you have to please the boss. And the boss of the body is not the brain, as you might think it is. That was sorted out a long time ago on who the boss is. And the boss will tell you how long and how far you can go on your bike. It's not the brain that tells you, or the clock, or the wristwatch on your arm. It's the boss that decides that. And they had this argument at one time, many years ago. The parts of the body got into this great argument on who was the boss of the body. And the legs spoke up and said, well, we should be the boss because we carry the body and make it move. The heart spoke up and said, no, I should be the boss because I keep the blood flowing and all things going. And the eyes spoke up and said, no, the body wouldn't know where it was going if it weren't for the eyes. And the brain spoke up and said, no, I orchestrate everything. I make the decisions. I should be the boss. And finally, a little voice at the back peeps up, and it was the bum. And the bum of the body said, I would like to be the boss. And the other parts of the body laughed and ridiculed the bum. And the bum got mad and closed up. And pretty soon the eyes couldn't see anymore. The legs started to wobble. The heart started to flutter. The brain couldn't make decisions. So they all said, oh, we give up. You can be the boss. And the boss was the bum. And you know the moral of the story, which is, to be a boss, you don't have to be a brain, just a bum. So how does this story relate to bike riding? Well, the question often is, how big is the battery? How far will the bicycle go? You know, the real answer to that question is not how far it might go, but how long will your bum last on the seat before it says, enough is enough, let's go home. So a bike, that it might, the total range of a bike might be, let's say, 60 kilometers. But if your bum can only handle 20 kilometers, who cares about the rest of it? The range and the maximum distance that the bike will go is not determined by the battery. It's determined by another letter B, a word that starts with the letter B, and that's the bum. That will give you your answer in most cases, especially at my age. Okay, let me just show you the seat. Some seats have a bit of a spring to them, and that helps act as a shock absorber to take the jar from the bumpy trail. Just look down on the seat here, and I'll put some pressure on there, on the seat where my finger is pointing here, and you can see this seat has a spring to it. And that makes a little bit of difference in the comfort of the ride. Take a test ride. Check out the seat for softness and width. Then don't ask your brain for an answer. Check out how the real boss feels. We said that another thing to check was the distance between the seat and the handlebars. Is it comfortable? If it's too far, your arms have to be too straight and your back bent a little too much. And after a while, this can make you start to feel uncomfortable. This here was a great bike in many ways, but this distance was a little too far for my wife, and she ended up selling it. Here are 3 auxiliary items that are nice on your bike. The dinger bell on the right is a requirement, and don't be hesitant to use it. The mirror on the left is really nice on the trails where others may be coming up behind you. Ignore my coffee cup. It is in the way of what we want to see next. You run your e-bike with 2 controls. The rectangular box on the left is the electronic control you set or push up or down to feed different amounts of power to your e-motor. The one on the right is your gear changer. That is the same as it is on any regular non-electric pedal bike. You simply push or pull the lever to change a gear. Here is the simple electronic control. You simply either set it or push your numbers up or down depending how much power you want to your motor. The higher numbers give your motor a little more power. It's like stepping on the gas in your car. You might ride for many days or for many kilometers and never change gears. But if you do, when might you change gears and how does it work? Let's look how we might shift gears if we want to go up this hill here. Okay, so the gear shift is on the right hand side, and let's start in the lower right side of this picture here. We're on a good trail, so our gears will be in high gear. If there's 6 or 8 gears on our shifter, we'll be up at the 6 or the 7 or maybe the 8. We're sailing along, a high number, faster, a little less power. But now we're coming up to this hill that's ahead of us. So we want to shift gears. Remember, you gear down. So let's look at the red numbers. We're up here at the rough, narrow trail or a hill. So we want to gear down. So from the 6 or 7 that we're on, we'll maybe gear down to 5 and then to 4, to 3 and 2. If it's really steep, I guess you do a 1, but you gear down. You go slower, but it gives you more power to go up the hill. And now what do you do on the left-hand side with your accelerator, the one that controls the power to your electric motor? Higher numbers, more power. So if you're running along at a 3 or a 2, you push that number up to a 5 or a 6 or an 8. And now we've got lots of power, we're in low gear, and we should be able to sail up that hill with a minimum effort in pedaling. It is a beautiful feeling. I know that relationship between the power to the motor and changing gears might sound a little bit complicated to you right now. However, believe me, after a ride or 2, you will catch on to it right away. And it's very enjoyable. So I hope you learned a little bit, might have enjoyed it a bit, and think about getting an e-bike. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. Hit the subscribe button and a thumbs up, and we're going to make some videos on some of the bike trails that are suitable for people like you and me, beginners who maybe are not confident and a little uncertain and would like to take it one little step at a time. Follow us. We'll have some fun riding some bikes.